What is good, you guys? We're back with another installment of Hardwood Talk, and today I got a special guest for y'all, Alex Hoops. Alex Hoops on YouTube for sure. Really good, small YouTuber just like me, little like bigger than me for sure, and has a way bigger Twitter platform. And he does behind the Bucks for fan sided. So a great guy to have on right now because well, the Bucks are in the finals. So how are you doing today, Alex?
Doing good, man. I appreciate you having me on.
Yep. So I wanted to get right into it, man. So the NBA Finals Game 3 just happened a couple days ago. Game 4 is about to happen today. But how do you feel about Game 3, and how do you feel about Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday finally kind of showing up in the finals?
Yeah, this is something that we've seen from the Bucks. It happens. It's happened just about in every single series. It happened against the Nets. They went down 0-2. It happened with the Suns now. They went down 0-2. And then Game 3, they always just come back and seem to punch the other team in the mouth. I think home court is something that this team really feeds off of. I'd say Milwaukee has probably one of the better home court advantages in the entire NBA. Super dedicated fans. And I mean, that arena looked like it was rocking in Game 3. So when you have like that home court advantage, I think players like Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday feed off of that. Giannis especially feeds off of that. Doesn't have to deal with the opposing fans, counting to 10 or anything like that.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to worry about any of that stuff. And Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton were definitely looking better in this game. I have no idea what that was. But Chris Middleton, he's a streaky shooter, so he's got to get going. And, once he gets going, he's an absolute threat. Like you were mentioning earlier, it's like he can be Kevin Durant or Kobe like in his gameplay. So I think
But then can be like subpar, like an afterthought at times.
yeah. And then Drew Holiday, we've seen his shot selection has been a little bit questionable throughout this series. He's putting up highly contested layups, can put up these stupid shots at the elbow that just aren't his shots. I mean, he's not really that kind of player that's, able to hit from the mid range at a consistent rate. But if things can start clicking and they can kind of tighten up the game plan, and Giannis keeps having these big games like he's been having, I like their chances in this series. I like their chances in Game 4 tonight. They've got the momentum in this series. I mean, whoever won last is the team that gets the momentum. They've got that energy, and their backs aren't against the wall anymore. I mean, in the sense that they're down 2-1, yes, their backs are against the wall, but at the same time, it's like, we just won a game. We're at home again. We've got the fans coming. Let's tie the series up tonight.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. My friend, like I was telling you before the pod, he's like a huge Giannis fan, like one of the only Giannis fans that I can say has been on it before he was actually like really good. So I know he's happy right now with these performances. And bro, like that, I just want to. I'm not gonna talk about it too much because I don't want to talk about Kendrick Perkins too much. But what that dude said was just unacceptable. That was terrible. That was actually terrible. He said Giannis. If y'all don't know, he said on Twitter that Giannis Antetokounmpo is the Robin and Chris Middleton is the Batman. And I honestly believe if you ask Chris Middleton that, he'd say Giannis is the Batman. So that was just the crazy tweet. And then a couple weeks later, after he has these 40-point performances, he's gonna tell other people to stop sleeping on Giannis, which is even like the most hypocritical thing I think I've seen in a minute. I ain't gonna lie to you. Like, you just can't defend that. Like, literally, you cannot defend that. ESPN has been taking a lot of L's recently. You cannot defend
ESPN's garbage, man. The sooner people realize that, the sooner everyone's better off. Support small creators because they're better. They're way better than ESPN. You're going to get better analysis. You're going to get less stupid hot takes. So I'll always advocate for, stop watching ESPN. It's garbage. It's pure
yeah.
garbage.
Yeah, hopefully, honestly, like, I mean, TNT is gonna have their hot takes. They're gonna have that too, but they're just more entertaining. I'm not. They're just more entertaining to watch. It's nothing against. I like Jalen Rose. I like Maria Taylor. I like those guys, but they're kind of they bring a little bit more analysis. But do you really need analysis from like the studio? I mean, we're about to watch the game. We might as well like get some. I mean, Chuck, Shaq, or at least I know they're gonna make me laugh at least one time, and
Yeah.
that may be a little bit more valuable to the entertainment value of the start and the pregame and halftime. But I like the analysis from Jay, Maria, and Jalen. I think they're some of the few people that are good at ESPN. So
Yeah.
keep doing it. I hope they keep doing their thing.
Yeah. One
Anyway,
real quick,
yeah,
one thing I will say is the thing with Chuck and Shaq that I have noticed that kind of makes it like a little bit easier to accept when they have like these crazy takes is when they have these takes, I truly believe that they actually think that take is true. Like they believe what they're saying. When people like Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman and Kendrick Perkins and Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp, when all these guys are making these hot takes that they have, I don't think that they actually believe what they're saying. They're
yeah,
saying it because it's the character that they're playing. It's
yeah,
what they think will get them the highest ratings. It's what they think is going to get them the highest number of clicks on YouTube and social media. In my opinion, they don't actually believe that. With guys like Chuck and Shaq and Kenny, it's like, okay, you might be wrong,
yeah,
but I genuinely think that you believe what you're saying, which I
yeah.
think is the most important thing when you're an analyst is whether or not people believe what you're saying is something that you actually think. There's too many people out here who are just hot take artists.
Yeah. So like, and this may not be fair to like, because like not everybody's 7 foot and not everybody's 6'5", but it just it it makes me less mad when they say crazy stuff because they're all time greats. Is that fair?
Right.
No,
Yeah.
but
No, I mean, I get what
Shaq
you're
is
saying.
Shaq is literally the most dominant player like one of the most, literally maybe the most dominant player ever. So
I would
like when he
agree. Yeah.
says something crazy, you're like, that's super crazy, but it's not. It doesn't make me as mad when Stephen A. Smith says something crazy because I've never seen him play basketball before. So
Right.
is that fair? No, but that's just the truth. That's just my truth. That honestly makes the blow of how stupid what you just said just was less because I know they're Hall of Famers, and I know at least they were really good at basketball. So,
Exactly.
that it's probably not fair because Stephen A is like 5'8", 5'9", so he most likely couldn't have been that good in the NBA. So it's not really his fault. But
Right.
that's just that I don't know. That's just how I feel. Anyways, like I said, the meat and potatoes of this episode is you reacting to my top 10 centers list. Hopefully, I can get like a guest for every single position. That'd be really, really cool if I can do that because um, when people do, I just like people reacting to it and like critiquing it, making me think about different things that I didn't think about when I was doing my list. So I have five. Oh, I only did nine, and I couldn't pick my 10th one. I couldn't pick my 10th one. I literally cannot pick. So the honorable mentions I have on this list is Yusuf Nurkic, Brooke Lopez, Miles Turner, Jared Allen, and Clint Capella.
No,
Those
this
are
is
my favorite.
current NBA.
Yeah, current.
Okay, okay. I was like all time girl. What?
No, no, no,
Okay,
no, 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 no,
okay,
no,
you're
no,
good.
no, 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 no,
You
no,
said
no, no, no,
You
no.
said Yusuf Nurkic. I got so scared, man. I was like, what is this? What kind of list is this man about to have?
Yeah. Current for sure.
Okay,
Let's
okay,
make that
cool,
clear. It's
cool.
current. My fault for not telling you that before. I shouldn't have. I should have told you that. That's totally my fault. That's totally my
You're
fault.
good, man. You're good.
Um. So like I said, Yusuf Nurkic, Brooke Lopez, Miles Turner, Jared Allen, Clint Capella. Um. I just want to ask, who is your favorite, like just favorite player out of those five? I have a guess, but I just wanted you.
My favorite, I mean, I really like, not for any basketball reason, but just because I like him, Jarrett Allen. I
Mm-hmm.
really, I think very highly of Jarrett Allen. I think he has, of the guys that you mentioned, I think personally Jarrett Allen has the highest potential since he's the youngest. And I think him and Clint Capella are very similar players. Both are lob threats, both are really good rim protectors. I think Jarrett Allen has potential to add a pinch of mid-range stretchability to his game on the baseline. We've seen it from him a little bit during his time with the Cavs, able to hit that baseline shot every now and then. Not very consistently. He's not hitting it at a high rate, but I think of those guys, Jarrett Allen has the highest potential. But of the guys that I would pick to go in that 10 spot, of the guys you mentioned, I would probably pick Clint Capella.
Mm-hmm. I was I was thinking like man, Yusuf Nurkic is such a confusing player. When I was making this list, I was like, yeah, Yusuf Nurkic he's in. But then when I started looking at it, I'm like, dude, it's not his fault, but he's been hurt for almost 2 years. Like he's been injury riddled for almost 2 years. Had that huge injury, gets injuries here and now and then. Now, like he just never looks 100%. Got literally dominated by Jokic in that series, but who doesn't?
Right.
Actually, Aiton didn't get dominated, so never mind about that. Aiton put up a fight against Jokic, although Jokic had really good numbers. Nurkic got into foul trouble, it felt like every single game in that series. Aiton
Mhm.
did not get in foul trouble, it felt like once. So it was hard to not put Yusuf Nurkic in that top 10 because I like Yusuf Nurkic a lot. I was a guy that thought that I didn't think that they made a mistake by trading Nurkic, but I thought Nurkic could be like the Jokic, like a diet Jokic for the Trailblazers, you know. So
Yeah.
it hasn't been that because of his injuries, but we know at his peak when he was injured, he was really good.
Yeah.
But I'd
Absolutely.
have to agree, like right now, it's Clint Capella. Although I don't like Clint Capella, I just don't like him.
Really? Any
Yeah,
particular
I don't
reason?
know.
I'm just
I,
curious.
yeah, honestly, it's just because of what he was doing in that post game interview against the Knicks when he started. I just feel like he just
Oh
started talking
yeah.
trash. He started talking trash after they were up, and it felt weird because like he wasn't like dominating the series. Like if Trey Young did that, I guess it wouldn't have been that big of a problem because he was
Right.
going crazy. But it just feels like, and he has that Marcin Gortat effect to me. And what I
Yeah,
mean
that's
by
fair.
what I mean by that is every stop in his career, he's had an insane engine, an insane playmaker to just give him the most easy baskets of all time. And that's what put seven. It felt like 5, 6 more years on Marcin Gortat's career, and with Clint Capella, James Harden, and Trey Young, um, his skill set is probably the worst on this list, and probably even you can say the worst out of the honorable mentions that Yusuf Nurkic, Brooke Lopez, Miles Turner, Jared Allen, Capella. I say his skill set is the worst in my
I
opinion.
I, I 100% agree with that.
Yeah, you can say Allen is close, but like you said, Allen has a little mid range jump shot. I've never seen
Mhm.
Clint Capella take a mid range jump shot.
Right.
The closest, the only shot I saw him take in that series with that behind the basket shot
Yeah.
at the buzzer. That's
Totally
literally the only
lucky
shot.
shot, by the way.
Yeah. Very,
There was
very
zero
lucky.
skill involved in that shot.
Yeah.
Very impressive. Totally lucky.
Yeah. So it kind of I like guys like Miles Turner and Jared Allen better because they went to Texas. I like Brooke Lopez's weird personality, and I'm just a
Yeah.
fan of Nurkic. But Capella is the best player on that list, and I can't let that over just my actual thoughts. You feel me? So we're gonna put
Right.
Clint Capella at 10. We kind of worked together on that, but now it's really just me telling you what I have and you reacting to it. So
Okay.
at nine. At nine, a guy that didn't play too much in the season, but when he did, and especially when he had James Harden, he was going crazy, and that's Christian Wood at number 9. How do you feel about that?
I like that a lot. I think Christian Wood, some people aren't very high on him. Uh, I know there's like this reputation that he's gotten for like poor defense and, um, some
Average defender.
inconsistencies, but I like Christian Wood a lot. I think Christian Wood, once he is able to stay healthy, very unfortunate that he had the injury that he had this year and kind
Yeah,
of got snubbed out of All Star, his first All Star selection, because he was 100% going to win. He was going to get selected to an All Star team. He was definitely going to win Most Improved Player. Unfortunately, that didn't end up happening because he ended up missing, a pretty significant amount of time. But
yeah,
I like him at 9 a lot. I think he brings a lot more to the table than most of the centers in the NBA. He's gonna stretch the floor for you. We've seen flashes of a little bit of playmaking in his game from the big man position. So, yeah, Christian Wood at 9. I'm cool with that.
yeah.
I got no issue.
And with the Rockets, now that we're here, a big debate has been who do you have at 2? Who do you have them taking? Just quick, who do you have them taking at 2?
If they're smart, they'll take Mobley. Um, but I think I don't know. I'm very very conflicted on this. I think Jalen Green has an absurd amount of upside, assuming the Pistons take Cade Cunningham at 1.
Yeah,
I think Jalen Green has an absurd amount of upside. His ability to score the ball is crazy. So if they took Mobley at 2, if they took Green at 2, I'd be cool with either.
my thing
I
is
think they
this.
can't go wrong.
My thing is this. The only reason I have them taking Jalen Green at two, I am a Jalen Green guy at two, and literally my example is right in front of me. Clint Capella at 10 is a top 10 center in the NBA with no skill, and is a top 10 center in the NBA because of what I just said, because of insane engines and playmakers and guards that have been on his team. So my thing is literally not even a Mobley Green thing. It's literally that the guard position right now is more valuable than the center position. And like we have right here, Christian Wood is already on the team. So when you put a guy like Jalen Green, which has 25 points per game written all over him, it's just more valuable to me than Evan Mobley. But I do think Evan Mobley is a little bit better of a prospect. It's literally just because of the value of positions in the NBA. That's
I
all.
definitely agree with that. I definitely agree
Yeah,
with that.
yeah. All right. At eight, a guy that is kind of a still one of the only traditional bigs back to the basket type of guy. Um, I think he's the oldest player on the team. Like one of the he's on one of the youngest team, but he's I think the oldest player on there, and that's Jonas Valanciunas at eight.
I think he's underrated.
Uh-huh.
I'm curious who you have at 7. So I don't know if I agree with that, but as far as I can tell, without knowing who's at 7, that seems reasonable.
Mhm.
I think he's super underrated just because he plays for Memphis. He's a
Yeah,
guy that, like, in 2K, I always try to go after if I can, because he's just a very, very solid player. Like, you really can't go wrong with him. I think he's improved a lot since his time in Toronto. I think he had like very glaring weaknesses during his time in Toronto, despite still being a good player. Um, but yeah, I mean, him at 8, or yeah, at 8, I'm cool with that. I'm cool with
it
that.
sounds good
Without
right
knowing
now.
who's at 7,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
sounds good. I
yeah.
could change my mind if after I hear who's at 7.
It was a very close between 8 and 7, and put I only put this guy over him because of I think his stretchability and playmaking is a little bit better. And Valanciunas isn't the greatest defender either. Neither is this
Right.
guy, and that is Nikola Vucevic at 7. I think Vucevic is a little bit better. Um, 7 sounds crazy for like like almost a current all star, but there's just the center position is very very stacked right now, and
It
I
is.
hope this shows y'all how stacked it is because I internally believe that you won't be surprised the 6 centers I have above him in there, and they're those guys. I mean,
Yeah.
but how do you feel about Vucevic at 7?
I, the thing with like the center position is it used to be in the days of old in the NBA, it was your job is to stand by the rim and put the ball in the basket and play defense. And now the centers are being asked to do so much more. If you want to be, a top 5 to top like 8 center in the NBA, it's like you have to be able to stretch the floor. Now we see centers with insane playmaking ability. You also have to play defense at a super high level. We ask them to do all of these things, and Vucevic fits that mold in the sense that he's liable for a triple double any night. He's going to get his at least 20 and 10 every single night. He'll probably get you like 5 or 6 assists, sometimes getting into double digit assists. And he'll play, I don't think Vucevic is the best defender in the world, but he's definitely not the worst. And of the guys that you mentioned so far, he's definitely not the worst defender. So it's like, I think that's fair. Him at 7 seems
Yeah,
fair.
yeah. He I think he's the closest thing to Jokic that you get in the NBA right now.
Yeah, he's
If
very
you
much like a diet Jokic.
like I thought Nurkic was gonna be. I
Right.
think that's Vucevic. Where Vucevic is at in his career, a couple All Star games. I mean, I think only one, right? Only one All Star game.
He
Being
might
that
have
guy
two
in
at this
Orlando,
point, but
yeah, I
yeah.
think he may have two. Being that guy in Orlando, that's exactly where I thought Nurkic was gonna be. But Vucevic is very underrated, just like Valanciunas. Those two guys don't get talked about enough. But we see y'all. We see y'all. At 6, uh, people may in the comments say this is recency bias, and it may be, but he's showing how valuable he is right now, and that is DeAndre Ayton at number 6. How you feel about that?
I don't know. I don't know how high. And this is one thing I was wondering when you started telling me your list, because like at number 10, when you didn't mention DeAndre Ayton, it wasn't because I wasn't surprised, because I think DeAndre Ayton is a bad player. It's just that I don't know how ready I am to put him into this caliber, because obviously he had a good regular season. Definitely wasn't like a bad. He was clearly a winning player because of the record that they had and where they were in the standings. And in the postseason, we've seen him take that step to being that, borderline, possibly elite center that they need. Um, we've seen him take that leap in the postseason. The thing for me is, obviously doing it in the postseason is more important than doing it in the regular season.
Right.
I just need to see him do
More
it
sample
for an
size.
extended period. Yeah, exactly. It's just too small of a sample size right now.
Understand.
And I think like there is consistency questions here. Like, how is he going to be able to do this on a nightly basis? Obviously, in the postseason, he's been about as consistent as you can ask for, minus the foul trouble that he got into in game 3. But I mean, next year he would probably be around this spot for me in the top if I had to rank the top 10 centers. Right now, it's like I don't know if I'm willing to say that he's like quote unquote eligible to be considered a top 10 center yet, because it's like I need more of a sample size. That's the only thing for me.
I
But like in
understand
the
that.
moment,
Yeah,
I agree.
I understand that because he had the suspension last year, right? But my thing is, if you look at his game log, he's literally improved every single month. So my thing is, why don't I think that he will improve even more next year? And
Right.
and at the end of the year, he was a really, really good center. At the end of that regular season, he was really, really good coming into the
Absolutely.
playoffs. Kale Drummond or whoever was at center stopped Jokic from being the MVP caliber player. He was still really good, but stopped Jokic from being the MVP caliber player and did what Nurkic couldn't, and that's stay out of foul trouble. Then in the conference finals, did really, really good. Had the Valley Oop moment. Had a really, really good series. Always gets off the fast starts in those series. And then this
Mm-hmm.
series, although he has been getting killed by Giannis, I think he's the best. His defense has improved immensely, and
It
that
has.
was the biggest question coming out of college, and now it's become a strength almost, to be honest with you. So,
Mm-hmm.
and he has that Marcin Gortat effect too. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie to you. Is he this good without Chris Paul and Devin Booker? I'm not sure. When people tell me that, yeah, we're super confident with DeAndre Ayton. They shouldn't have drafted Luka. I'm telling you, like, if you put DeAndre Ayton on the Mavericks, he's not that good. If he has Josh Richardson and Tim Hardaway as his playmakers, he's not going to be as good as he is. And that goes back to my conversation with the Evan Mobley, Jalen Green thing of need a guard being more valuable than a center. So these guys, even Vucevic, I feel is a better. I don't even know, man. But
I
Vucevic does
I
more
get
for his
what you're
team.
trying to say. Yeah, and I think that's something with DeAndre Ayton that I question too, is like how much more, because he can get better at the things that he's currently good at, but the question is how much more is he going to be able to add to his game? That's the question that I have, because we've seen flashes where he can hit that
The
baseline
mid
jump shot
range.
every now and then, that mid-range post fade, and I like seeing that from him. I kind of wish he would do it more, because I think that creates a lot of defensive problems for the other team. And my question is he going to be able to add just a pinch of playmaking to where he can get to like, 4.5 assists per night? Is he going to get to that, elite level of defense? How far will he eventually be able to stretch the floor? But like you said, I think going into next season, absolutely, I think he's a top 10 center. And I actually like where you put him, because I definitely think, in terms of value to a team, he is over the guys that you've already mentioned.
Yeah. So I mean, I think even if you watch his film in Arizona and you see him with a way longer leash than he has now, because it's game time, it's finals time. You can't be
Right.
developing your game. You got to do what you got. But in that
Right.
area, in Arizona, when he was able to do basically anything he wanted, you saw the mid-range potential. You saw that type of stuff. So I do believe that he can have a decent mid-range at his peak. And I think that's all he needs because he's a dominant force at the rim. And I really do believe he can almost be like an elite defensive center at some point. I
I think
do
so
believe
too.
that. Yep. But like I said, he does have like I can't be I can't be wishy-washy with it. Like Clint Capella, he has some of that Martian Gortat effect. I'm gonna start using that a lot more
I
because I
like
think
that
it's
a
perfect.
lot. You came
Yeah,
up with that, and I'm like,
yeah,
that's a really good point.
yeah. The Martian Gortat effect of you literally get baskets because you play with, I don't know, one of the best point guards ever, and then
Right.
also like one of the best young shot creators who's ever seen in this game. But let's get to number five. And I've seen people try to say that Aiton is over him, and that's why I tell you to like stop. I know he had a disappointing playoffs, but you can't say that yet. Come on, man. And that is Bam Adebayo. Bam Adebayo at number five. How do you feel about that?
I think Bam Adebayo. I think people are definitely victims of the moment right now, where they're like, "Oh, he had such a bad playoffs."
Which he did. He did.
Which yeah, there's no sugarcoating that he
Yeah.
had a bad playoffs. Um, the problem to me was he went from being a defensive player of the year caliber player during the regular season and is considered in terms of everyone in the NBA right now, especially after last year in the bubble, he was considered to be the Giannis stopper. He was considered to be one of the only guys who can contain Giannis Antetokounmpo. And in the playoffs this year, we didn't see that. And I'm not sure if I would take him over Aiton simply because Aiton does have the size. I think Bam Adebayo has the portability, which I think is super important in today's NBA. Like Bam Adebayo is, aside from not having any stretchability right now, he is like the perfect center for today's NBA because he's playing really good defense. He can fit into small ball lineups. He's able to get his buckets pretty easily. I think he probably needs to work on his offensive game more than anything, and I think
Yeah.
most people would probably agree with that. But yeah, Bam Adebayo is like the perfect center for today's NBA because he can play in those small ball lineups, and he's also able to alter shots at the rim against these players like Jokic, against these players like Joel Embiid. He's able to put up a fight against them despite only being what 6'9", 6'10", something like
Yeah.
that.
If he was a little bit better of a 3-point threat, he the that DHO with Duncan Robinson will be on a JJ Redick, Joel Embiid level if he was just a little bit better of a 3-point threat because they have that
100%
potential.
agree.
They're already really good with it. It brings a lot of offense to the game when Robinson and Adebayo's in that action. But if he was a little bit better of a 3-point shooter, that'd be great. Obviously, he's a little bit undersized at the position, but he brings the speed. I think his mid range is he has a really good mid range. He's developed
It's
so
getting
much.
there. It's
Yeah,
getting
it's
there.
getting there. I mean, he's had game winning shots this year. You know,
Yeah.
he's done it a couple times. So he has that kind of a little push shot. He has that. Obviously, you'd want every center to be able to stretch the floor a little bit more. Does he have that? I'm not sure. Hopefully, I think he's a hard enough worker to get
I
there
think
at some
so.
point. Because with centers, you just have to ask yourself: Are they a hard? Do they work hard enough to get the 3-point shot that y'all want him to have? Like, I feel like a guy like DeAndre Ayton, he came in the league with work ethic problems. I think now he has the work ethic to get there. Other guys, I mean, Capella probably doesn't because he hasn't. It doesn't look like it's ever going to get there. There's Rudy Gobert, da, da, da. All these players, do they have the work ethic, especially the young guys, to get the 3-point shot? That's what you have to ask yourself. And I think Bam Adebayo, the answer is yes. So
Yeah.
that's why I have him at five right now. And 5 and 4, I don't know if you agree with this, but it was a toss up to me, man. If you told me to put Bam at 4 and this guy at 5, I wouldn't have been mad at you. But this at number 4, we got Rudy Gobert.
Man, I have my opinions about Rudy Gobert.
Oh, you do?
Um
I saw Rudy. I think I saw a
I
Rudy Gobert video on your channel. I think. Oh no, 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 I
I
didn't.
I avoid talking about him because I'm incredibly biased against Rudy. So here's the reason I'm very biased against Rudy Gobert.
Yeah.
Uh so back in March of last year, um, I had tickets to go see Oklahoma City versus the Utah Jazz,
Oh,
and I live in Kentucky, so Oklahoma City is a 13-hour drive for me.
you went to that
So
game?
I went to the game, and we get there, and this I had been seeing on Twitter all day videos of Rudy Gobert touching microphones and stuff. I was like, I'm gonna be pissed if something happens. We sit down in our seats. They do the national anthem. They are ready to tip off, and everyone leaves the floor. Eventually, we waited about 15 minutes. They come over the loudspeaker and they're like, "Hey, so the game is not happening tonight. You all are free to leave, and we'll be in touch about refunds and all of that." So I blame all of that on Rudy Gobert. Oklahoma
Under
City, I'm a Bucks fan, but Oklahoma City's my favorite team. I mean, it's like 1 and 2. One is OKC, two is the Bucks. Um, I like Chris Middleton more. That's my connection to the Bucks. Is I'm a huge Chris Middleton fan. But with OKC, it's like that was going to be my first NBA game ever, and it was going to be my first time seeing my favorite team. And Rudy Gobert ruined it. So I'm really biased
understood.
against Rudy Gobert. But if you put, I mean, this is going to be a hot take, and people will probably disagree with me. And I really don't care. It's totally fine because everyone has different opinions on Rudy Gobert. I think some people value him a lot. Some people don't value him very much. I would take DeAndre Ayton and Bam Adebayo over Rudy Gobert right now. If you had them, both of them higher than Rudy Gobert, I would be totally cool with that.
I
I
literally I literally did a poll yesterday about that, and let's see. I forgot what the results were. Let me pull it up right now. Let's see what the results were. Wait a minute. Okay, here it is. 8-1, 86% to 14%. So you're not in the minority with that. Rudy Gobert is a very polarizing player in the NBA world, but I try to value his defense because it is great.
Yeah,
I'm not the biggest Rudy Gobert fan either. I'm just not a Utah Jazz fan because I just don't like Utah. Utah brings weird vibes to me. I don't like Utah. I don't like the Jazz. I hate that Dwayne Wade's the owner. I hate Karl Malone. I don't like John Stockton. The only person I really like on there is Donovan Mitchell, Royce O'Neal, to be honest. So I'm not a big Rudy Gobert fan or a Jazz fan, but I try to understand and appreciate the how good of a player he is because I think that goes under the radar at times because he like the freedom that you get, like me playing basketball, the freedom that a player has, like Mike Conley and Donovan Mitchell, to play aggressive defense, get up on people, Russell O'Neal to play aggressive defense, get up on people, being kind of fine with people going past them because you have basically the best shot blocker and paint defender behind you that's most likely going to swat it. It is a freedom that not a lot of people have, and that's what Rudy Gobert provides. And I understand why you don't like him, man. I'm not a big fan either, but I try to appreciate his game because I don't think a lot of people do. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
I
So
think the
yeah,
thing with me is like the question I find myself asking a lot with Rudy Gobert is if he was a little bit worse at defense, but better at offense than he is, would the Jazz have won that series? Because I think in today's NBA, offense, unfortunately, and I don't like that it's this way, I think defense needs to be made important again. But I think in today's NBA, offense, you do need a good balance, but I think offense is more important than defense. And I
yes,
think a lot of people would probably tend to agree with that. And with Rudy Gobert, just like I said, the question I've been asking myself is even if he wasn't the defender that he currently is, if he had more of an offensive game but less of a defensive game, would the Jazz have gotten out of that series? And I don't know the answer to that, but the fact that I'm asking that question, that's kind of the big thing that like I always come back to when I'm debating with myself my opinions on Rudy Gobert. So that's
yeah.
kind of where I'm at with it. But I
It's not
understand his
even
defensive impact is super
yeah,
legendary. Like it's some of the greatest defense we've ever seen.
yeah,
And that's why he's won as many defensive player of the years as he has. But I don't know.
yeah. I'm not a big fan either. We can stop talking about him. I don't. I really don't. I really don't like him to be honest. I was trying to suppress it while I was talking, but I really don't like Rudy Gobert. I
he's a,
just don't
he's
like how he
he's
looks.
an incredibly unlikable player.
He really is. So we're just gonna leave it at that. At number three,
Okay.
we have Carl Anthony Towns. I think he's starting to become one of the most underrated players in the league because he hasn't played a lot. But he is
Absolutely.
literally the best three, and this is coming from a Mavs fan. He's the best 3-point big man shooter of all time. He is.
100%.
Just look at the stats. He's the
100%.
best 3-point shooter, big man of all time. People need to realize that, realize his skill, and the man. If y'all let if y'all let Ben Simmons get on the Timberwolves, y'all are gonna be with his playmaking, his perimeter defense,
Oh,
and bro, next to Cat, and I guess if that happens, D'Lo will be gone. So in Anthony Edwards, y'all are gonna be. Yeah, man, that's all good.
I like that a lot.
Cat
I like
Carl
that a
Anthony
lot.
Towns. I was wondering if you were thinking where I was going to put Carl Anthony Towns because he's a
I
very
was.
interesting
I
player.
was.
He's a very interesting player to rate, but bro, he's great, bro. He really is. And
And
when
people don't realize this. Karl Anthony Towns, Jokic is obviously the best playmaking center in the NBA.
he's number two.
There's an argument that Karl Anthony Towns is the second best.
Yeah,
And people think playmaking, they think, how many assists are they getting per game? And with Karl Anthony Towns, it's not necessarily about how many assists he's getting. His ability to get the ball in the low post and find people when the defense is collapsing on him on the interior and when he's going for that post fade, his ability to find open players is really, really good. And I think we're going to see that from him next year. We're going to see more of, he's going to get his buckets. He's going to get his rebounds. He's a double-double
yeah,
machine. I think we're
hmm
probably going to see Karl Anthony Towns notch a good handful of triple-doubles next year. People
yeah,
are sleeping on his playmaking ability. I like where you have him. I think 4 right now, but I think next year, depending on how their offseason goes and depending on how their season goes next year with his health and everything, I think there's a
yeah.
chance he could be considered a top 3 center at the end of next
Who
season.
who would you put at three then?
Who would I put at 3? Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know. I want to hear yours first. I want to hear
All
yours first.
right,
I'm not ready.
all right. At number
I'll,
two,
I'll, I'll keep
it's
it in suspense for now.
it's literally 1B, 1A, honestly, but I guess I'll put 1, 2, I guess. But at two,
Wait, who was who
I
was 3? Who was 3?
cat cat's three. So
Cat
let me
was
go
3.
back
Who
through the
was
list.
4?
Yeah.
I got off somewhere.
Okay. Capella at 10.
No, it
Wood
was
at
Bam. It was Bam, Gobert, Cat, and then okay. Okay, I got
yeah,
you. I
Bam.
got you then.
Bam at five.
Okay. That's it.
Yeah, Gobert at four, Cat at three. So at two is
Okay.
basically
I'll
one A,
tell you. I'll
one
tell
B
you.
to
I'll
me.
tell. I'll tell you who my 2 is. I thought we
All right.
hadn't done 3 yet. 2 for me. I think I gotta go Joel Embiid.
Yeah, for sure. Embiid at two, and it's in my opinion, it's 1B, 1A.
I'm with you.
In my opinion, but I think Jokic's offensive ability and his playmaking ability that I think Joel Embiid may have some of that in him at points, but Jokic is a natural playmaker, and as soon as he decided to start being more aggressive, he became an MVP because not a lot of people realize he barely averaged 20 points last year because he
Yep.
at some points he just didn't want to shoot the ball,
Mm-hmm.
and now he wants to shoot the ball. He's dominant offensive player and underrated defensive player because of his hands and how quick his hands are. For a
Mm-hmm.
slow guy, his hands are insanely quick and gets him a lot of steals and deflections. So he's not a negative on defense either, which I think a lot of people need to realize when they're talking about this debate. Although Joel Embiid is an elite defensive player and a little bit worse than an offensive player, you'd say, but his offensive ability is just insane. Nikola Jokic is, so that's why I have him at 1 and Joel Embiid at 2. It's close. It's very, very close though.
Yeah, and for me, like, I love Embiid. I've been a fan of his game for a long time, and his potential as a player. And I'm glad to see that he's finally reaching that potential. I mean, he was one of the best scorers in the entire NBA this season. But to me, Jokic is the greatest offensive center of all time. Like, we've never seen a center do what Jokic has done on offense. And that's why I have him over Embiid right now. It's like, when have we seen a center so well-rounded on offense? A center that can literally play your point guard position and win you games. Like, Jamal Murray went down, and his second best player became Michael Porter Jr. And Jokic, not only they were at the 6th seed when when Jamal Murray went down, he lifted them up to the 3rd seed. Like, that's insane to
Didn't
not
miss the game.
only maintain your team's ability to make the playoffs, but to get them home court advantage without your second best player. Like, who's doing that aside from Nikola Jokic?
That's different. I mean, you like when you say stuff about that about current players, people say, "Oh, that's wrong. That's wrong," because it's just something in people's heads that you can't really say that about current players because like people say that in the moment, but if you really sit back and think, you're like nobody's been able to play make like this. Nobody's almost shot 40% from three and also be a dominant force in the paint. So when you put all that together and you really think about that, you may have a case, but you got to think about players like Shaq, Kareem, all those type of players. But when you
Yeah,
really
and
sit back
to
and think,
me, it becomes like it's different types of offense. And when I say he's like the greatest offensive center of all time, I mean in terms of his versatility, not necessarily like his dominance. Hold on, my cat's right here. um, in terms of dominance, I mean, I have guys like Shaq, Hakeem Olajuwon, and I think Hakeem is arguably one of the most skilled centers of all time, and arguably the most skilled center of all time. But I say Jokic, he may not be the greatest offensive center of all time, looking at like the scoring numbers and everything, but in terms of his overall versatility, that's more what I mean when I say he's the greatest offensive center of all time.
yeah, yeah, I agree with that 100%, 100%, man. Um, so we're done with the list, man. I'm gonna look back at it, recap it. Uh, so we got Capella at 10. We kind of did that once. Okay, the honorable mentions are Nurkic, Lopez, Turner, and Allen, Jared Allen. We kind of did 10 together with Clint Capello, Christian Wood at 9, Jonas Valanciunas at 8, Vucevic at 7, 8, Aiton at 6, Bam at 5, Gobert at 4, Cat at 3, Embiid at 2, and Jokic at 1. But those two are very close, like I said earlier, man. Very, very close. I really do believe that DeAndre Ayton can be a top 5 center in like maybe next year.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I'm very high on him. Christian Wood, we don't know what he's going to do next year. He's going to have a lot of opportunity again. Capella most likely will drop out because I think guys like Miles Turner and Allen are going to have big seasons next year.
Mm-hmm.
And I was close to putting Brook Lopez on this list. I ain't gonna lie. He's
I
very
love Brook
underrated as
Lopez,
well.
man. I
Yeah,
think so too.
he's really cool. He seems like a cool person in my opinion. That's what
Yeah.
I like about him the most. He's quirky. He's different than a lot of other NBA players, which is cool.
Yep.
Wears high socks still. You know,
I love it. I
weird.
love it.
Yeah, yeah. So I like that about. But before we get out of here, I just wanted to get your thoughts, quick thoughts on the USA team so far, and what do you think is the big problem with it?
Yeah, I tweeted. I think you saw my tweet. I tweeted about it yesterday, and I think something that Team USA has been doing, not just this year, but when the FIBA World Cup was going on, they're just throwing as many scorers onto a team as they can. You know, you need legitimate. The thing is, international basketball has grown so much. So like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, there weren't the international players that we have now. You look at Team Nigeria, basically that whole team is NBA players. You have the Serbian team that's going to have Jokic on it. You've got the Slovenian team that's going to have Luka Doncic on it. You've got the Spanish team who's always going to have current NBA players and former NBA players on it. And I think Team USA operates under the philosophy of let's just throw as many scorers onto the team as we can. And I think they need to start looking at it from like, okay, we need an actual team. We need to have defense. We need to have playmaking. Because you look at the team right now, they don't really have like a point guard. I mean, they've got Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard, I mean, he is a point guard and he does get his assists, but they don't have like a
It's not as
primary
filthy.
facility. Yeah, they don't have like a primary facilitator. They have Bam Adebayo on defense, but like Draymond Green, I love Draymond Green. And I think he's in his prime, he was an incredible player, but he's definitely one of those players who's like, he is declining somewhat due to his age. And, this team needs to start looking at it and being like, okay, it's nice having all these scores on one team and all these guys who can get buckets, but like when FIBA rules are not calling the fouls that they call in the NBA, it's like you got to have some level of roster construction to make things work.
But also, what I want people to realize is they haven't got their finals guys yet. Drew
Yep.
Holiday is a great defender and a
Mm-hmm.
facilitator as well at times. Chris Middleton, another one of, and then you have two other scorers, which you already have,
Right.
Um, so I'm not sure how much different Bradley Beal and who else? Bradley Beal and Zach LaVine and Chris Middleton and Devin Booker are gonna. They're kind of like all the same players,
I mean,
but
Chris Middleton and Devin Booker, I will say, are better defenders than Zach LaVine and Bradley Beal. So I think that will
yeah,
help. Also, Chris Middleton is a pretty consistent rebounder. He's also a fairly reasonable playmaker. Devin Booker is another player who's like, we saw him get a triple double earlier in the playoffs. So
Yeah,
I think they'll be fine once those guys show up. I think right now they are hurting because of it though.
yeah. And also, what something I was looking at, like what I was realizing with my friend when this roster came out, is a lot of these we just went through the centers. A lot of these centers are European. They don't have
Exactly.
the and Bam Adebayo is half Nigerian, so he should be playing on the Nigeria team. To be honest with
Right.
you, so if you look at my list, Jokic at one, he's European. Embiid at two, he's European. Cat at three, he's Dominican. Number
Yep.
four, Rudy Gobert, France. He's French. At five, Bam. He's on the USA team, but he is Nigerian. Eight and
Right.
six from Bahamas. Seven, I'm not sure if Vucevic is. Eight, Jonas is Lithuanian.
Hmm.
Nine was nine. Nine, Christian Wood, he's American, and 10, Clint Capella, he's French. So one player out of my top 10 centers are American, and then you look at the honorable mentions. Yusuf Nurkic is Bosnian, Brooke Lopez is American, and Turner and Allen are American. So literally 14 centers I have on here, four of them are American. The big men are mostly European. So
Yep.
I mean, you don't have that many options. That's crazy. That was just something I noticed.
I
So
didn't realize that. You kind of just like, wow. I mean, I think I don't know the math on this, but I would guess that the center position would be the most like diverse. It's got to be the most diverse position in the
oh
NBA right
yeah,
now.
yeah. Because they're big guys and there's not a lot of. I mean, there's the genes in like Africa and all those type of places are just way better, and you get taller
Hmm.
people, and Yao Ming and a lot of times these people are way taller. So it's just that from other places, people are just bigger. There's a lot of like Americans, 6'5", 6'6", the small forward, there's more Americans there. But with the insanely tall people, the irregularly tall people, like, and then you have guys like Boban, Chris Stapps, like the three tallest people are not from this country. I mean,
Right.
Taco Fall played at school here, but he's not from this country either. So
Right.
that's Bol is not from this country. All those
Right.
type of players, literally. Not a lot of American centers now. You think when you really sit back and think about it.
For
But yeah,
sure.
man, I don't want to take up too much of your time, man. I
Oh,
appreciate
you're
you
good,
so
man.
much for coming on. Hopefully, I can get some more people to come on and react to my other position list. That's what gonna make this a series like 5 part. Just people reacting to my positional rankings. I think that'll be very fun, and I appreciate you for coming on.
Thanks for
Um,
having me, man. I appreciate it anytime.
yes, sir, man. Yes, sir, man. That's all I got. That's all we got for you guys today. Like and sub on the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys next.